moving from back in 2010, since 2000, the number of fintech startups magnified 14 times. عدد شركات الفاينانشال تكنولوجي الستارت ابس تضاعف 14 مرة. Since 2000 up to 2019. 14 times magnified. انت متخيل حجم السرعة في عدد الشركات الصغيرة اللي بتدي تكنولوجيا وبتدي kind of technology. Islamic fintech firms represent the next wave of growth. We know this. This is as per ELBS's survey, one of the leading institutions providing these kind of Islamic fintech statistics. 68% of Islamic fintechs are 10 or less in team size. Can you imagine? 10 people come together, they build a fintech, they all specialize in some kind of technology, offer their services, fintech startup. Only 4% out of those 68 are 100 or more. Big fintechs. عايزين بس نستوعب الفكرة إن 10 أشخاص بيتجمعوا سوا عندهم الاكسبيرينس بتاعت التكنولوجي والفاينانس والاب والبيلد ابس واللاجنج bootstrapping to build the software بقوا فينتك. والسايز بتاع الفند بتاع ال 10 اشخاص دول ممكن يريتش 12 مليون 15 مليون دولار. واحنا قاعدين بندي محاضرات. 26% of Islamic fintechs have at least one female founder. And that's a key issue. Diversity, equality in Europe, in America, in Canada become a major issue. There is equality between males and females, and the presence of females is there. 26%, that's a large number. And I believe this is the forthcoming wave in Gulf countries as well. There will be a rule for females. Get ready.
One of them, my daughter.
Brilliant, here we go. Top 5 growth sectors in Islamic fintechs. That's per this report. Peer-to-peer and crowdfunding, challenger banking, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, every single aspect. Are you aware that most of the governments now seriously considering electronic currencies? You know there is difference between fiat currency, العملة التقليدية اللي ملهاش قيمة. النقدية. الورقة دي مش عارف أنا معايا فلوس ولا أكيد أهلا وسهلا. أعتقد معايا some Qatari. Yeah. الورقة دي. What's the value of this piece of paper? There is a value of what I can buy using this piece of paper, but the physical actual value of this is nothing. If you lose it, you lost it. But with electronic currency, cryptocurrencies, you will never lose it because it's there over a cloud, over internet technology. You know what I mean? And this is why some of the developed governance and governments seriously considering the cryptocurrencies. Robo-advisory and BFM, the personal financial management. I was contacting my internet providers back in Manchester before I come, and surprisingly, I found chatbot. It's a computer system. It's not a human behind the screen, and answering all my specific questions accurately, and try to interact with me like a human being. Oh my days, I was scared first time. I knew about it a couple of years ago, but it's scary. Moreover, there is an actual robot in some of the banks now. انت لما بتيجي تعمل محادثه مع شركه بتقدم لك خدمات، المفروض ان يبقى في كاستمر سيرفيسز، شخص متخصص يرد عليك، خدمه العملاء او الزبائن. اللي انا فوجئت بيه ان هو عامل حاجه اسمها شات بود، يعني كمبيوتر سيستم مبرمج بكل المعلومات، بينتراكت معاك وبيجاوب على الاسئله بتاعتك وهو مش هيومن. وفي بعض البنوك بدأوا يحطوا actual physical روبوت بالعربي روبوت إنسان آلي بالضبط، إنسان آلي علشان يجاوب معاك ويتفاعل معاك. Scary. If you look to the shape, fintech shaping and reshaping financial industries. So you have startups, you have fintech companies, well-established, 100 or more, the 4%. You've got infrastructure players, you've got financial institutions. And you can see the relationship now between them. Consumers and users are interacting with these two. Millennials and Generation Z appreciate and prefer these two above the financial institutions. Investors, incubators, and accelerators prefer more well-established banking industry. Regulators and governments, that's the interaction between them. But providing technology compared to the more conventional, it's a different story. This is the ecosystem. You can see how many lending and financing institutions, payments and transfers, retail banking, that was back in 2016. So a lot of more players. This is only the logos of international financial companies and non-financial companies playing role in fintech industry. From an Islamic perspective, 7,500 fintech firms globally have raised how much? $110 billion. Some banks continued in the industry for decades, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they never reached this. Some banks. Only. That's a very small number, but these are the fintech, no, that's globally, sorry, not for Islamic, that's globally. That's the fintech firms globally. No, not Islamic. Islamic will come later on. So you can imagine now how these fintech startups and fintech companies are real competitors to the Islamic and financial services. 58 billion raised in the first quartile in 2018. And you can see here the increase from 2010 up to 2017. Huge, huge. I'm focusing upon these three items, if you remember: artificial intelligence, big data, quantum computers, going through the other 9 fintech technologies identified by this report worldwide. As we said before, 93 Islamic fintech within Islamic nations. UAE is a lead country within Gulf and within MENA countries, followed by Saudi Arabia and GCC4, which is Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait, followed by Egypt. The total size of GDP capital expected to be $320 billion by 2023. 320, not million, billion dollar. Massive. And the final conclusion, fintech is disrupting. But please do not misunderstand me. They are no longer only disrupting. They are sophisticated competitors nowadays. 2-3 years ago, I would believe they were disrupting only. Now disruption become the old-fashioned. I'm not only disrupting you, I'm competing with you. I'm going to take your clients, right? It is. It is a big challenge. And don't misunderstand me, that doesn't apply only to financial services. الكلام ده ما بيتطبقش على قطاع البنوك والخدمات المالية فقط. شركات الاتصالات، شركات التكنولوجيا، oil and gas, massive, الhospitality, التوريزم، الفنادق، شركات الطيران. All these sectors in urgent need of using technology. And some using already. Taxi drivers. And Islamic fintech ecosystem have an emerging power now in global Islamic fintech industry with a strong focus on why should I go to a bank to borrow money? I would find a suitable guy, a suitable group of people, a suitable entity. They have surplus, give me the money. You're happy to give it to me, I will give it back. Done. This is only to review some of the scandals that financial institutions recently faced globally. But let me go straight away to the real news, the real action. Lloyds Bank in the UK fined 218 million LIBOR rate rigging. They tried to fix or fluctuate the interest rate. And they got fined by the financial authority in the UK 218 million. Unethical. And this will lead to another side of the financial technology as well, which is what's the ethical side of using excessive technology. ايه تأثير الاستخدام المفرط للتكنولوجيا من الناحية الأخلاقية. Okay.
What do you mean by this people create rigging?
Rigging, they try to fix or volatile the interest rate over a period of time.
Is it not the central bank that fixes it?
And that's why they got fined. Central bank couldn't control it that time, but when they become aware of it, they have this fine over them. But it's not only example, we have a lot. Barclays fined 38 million, putting clients' assets at risk, which means they have invested in client assets without their permission or whatever happened that time. But again, get fines. Let's give you a flavor of how large banking institutions facing problems now because of the number of fines and scandals they are facing currently. 14.5 million for Royal Bank of Scotland over mortgage advice. They provide wrong mortgage advices to their clients. لما تيجي تشتري الرهن العقاري ده المورجج تشتري بيت بقرض من البنك they provide wrong advice to the clients. لما تشتري منزل من البنك وانت ما معكش فلوس فانت بتشتري في ثمن المنزل الرهن العقاري بتشتري ثمن المنزل من البنك بتاخد الفلوس العربي بتاعي بتاخد الفلوس من البنك يشتري لك البيت انت بتقعد في البيت ويا اما تدفع بالاقساط للبنك يا اما تتحول ملكيه البيت لك يا اما ما تتحولش وده الفرق ما بين الرهن العقاري الاسلامي والرهن العقاري العادي. في الرهن العقاري العادي البنك بيحول لك الملكيه وبتدفع اقساط للبنك بالفوائد. في حاله القرض الاسلامي ان البنك بيبقى شريك معاك وبيحول الملكيه بتاعه البيت تدريجيا بالنسبه لعدد الاقساط مشاركه. حاجه زي كده. 6 banks in the UK. I'm talking only about the UK. If you expand this to the US, to Japan, to other European countries, a lot of other examples around the scandals. Barclays faces another heavy forex fine when it comes to security exchanges as well. That was back in 2015. Barclays accused for abusing last log trading system and so on and so on. So that's an important question for us now. What user clients are looking for? What we are looking for when it comes to fintech? Can you see that circle? Examples. There are much more. Examples, electronic payments. You can sit over the internet now. I am personally paying my electricity, my water bills, my grocery store bills, my internet bills, my mobile phone bills, everything over internet. My rent over internet. كل الفواتير اللي بندفعها حاليا بتدفع وانا قاعد في البيت مستريح على الصوفة بتاعتي over internet على الكمبيوتر. I'm not going to read them all, but you should focus on fraud and loyalty to build customer and provide customer protection. Fraud is an area that most of fintech providers and most of banks need to focus upon. الناس دي محتاجة تركز على الفرود بالعربي التحايل لأن ممكن ناس يكون عندهم قدرة في التكنولوجيا عالية إن هو يخترق النظام وبالتالي يسرق أموالك أو يعمل حاجة غير صالحة. اللي أنا بحاول أقوله هنا إن في large investments in fraud detection and this is a necessity. You can't avoid it. The ecosystem, that's Another example of the key players in the market. Strategic fintech partners, some universities that was back again in 2016, including Stanford in America. Nowadays, more recently, myself, I've developed the first fintech MSc in Manchester Metropolitan University back in Manchester. The first degree in fintech in master level. Only other universities take the lead before us. It was Strathclyde and Cambridge. But next year, straight away, we developed it. So universities play an important role to provide that high level of training, high level of required education for the sector. Startups, accelerators, that's only examples as well. These are examples of the companies. Sorry. TechFin, big, large, massive institutions providing technology, but moving from technology side to finance. Remember this, GAFA. Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, add to them Microsoft. So GAFA M or whatever. But these are the, we have a survey back in the UK covering Europe, Canada, America, Japan, and some other countries, Australia and New Zealand. They investigated the millennials and Generation Z views about using banking institutions within the next 3 to 5 years. All of them would prefer Apple and Amazon, PayPal, Alibaba. And we can talk a lot about this. They are no longer interested. What's the main reason? Much easier, reliable. Whenever I buy any item from Amazon, for example, and I'm not satisfied, nothing wrong with the item, nothing wrong with the product, I can call them and they may pay for the call or may call me back straight away within 30 seconds. And the only reason I'm not satisfied, I don't like it. I thought it's gonna be different. We do apologize, we're gonna refund you. Within less than 24 to 48 hours, the money back in your bank account again. High customer service. With any bank providing kind of services, you will never find this high quality. And that's why they start to move towards financial services. And all the millennials, all the young generation, they are going toward it. Fintech market drivers. That's a huge area. When it comes to big data, and when I talk about big data, I'm not describing millions of observations. I'm describing billions, trillions of observation about millions and trillions of people. So you need that massive, huge cloud. The space in this cloud is massive. Giga, terabytes, that number is very small. Mobile services, we all know the importance of mobile phones now. The best friends for us now. You can use it for everything around you now. From calling, text messaging, emails, social networks, payments, a lot of things. What those people need is important. And if you don't know and you work in industry what those people need, you are in trouble. لو ما انتش عارف, millennials are those people, الناس اللي اتولدوا منتصف الثمانينات أول التسعينات. ممكن ناس تانيين يعرفوا الميلينيومز ان هم الناس اللي اتولدوا بعد سنة 2000. بس اللي اتولدوا بعد سنة 2000 دول جنريشن زي. دول الأصغر. الميلينيومز اللي هم اتولدوا around 1990s. فالناس دي تفكيرها مختلف. والمسج اللي انا قلتها من شويه, لو انت مش عارف كشركه او كاندستري ايه الناس دي عايزه ايه وبتفكر ازاي, انت حياتك منتهيه. حياتك كصناعه, مش حياتك الشخصيه طبعا. حياتك كصناعه منتهيه. If you don't know what those people are looking for, you're done with your business. And those people are using massively and excessively social media, social networks. Some of them, Generation Z, said Facebook is old-fashioned, and they won't even have an account on Facebook. بعض الأجيال الجديدة دول نسبة كبيرة منهم طبعا بيقولوا إن الفيسبوك ده old-fashioned. خلاص أنا فيسبوك ده بتاع الناس العواجيز. أنا عايز دلوقتي انستجرام أو عايز سناب شات. والمعلومات على السناب شات والانستجرام سريعة جدا مقارنة بالفيسبوك. لان نظام الستوري بتاعها ونظام الاد بتاعها كلها فلاش 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 فلاش. This is flying data. انت متخيل حتى في نظام السوشيال ميديا بقى في تو كاتيجوريز، بقى في حاجات للناس العواجيز اللي زي حالاتنا او اللي زي حالاتي على الاقل، والناس اللي لسه صغيره. انت متخيل الافكار جت ازاي؟ اوكي. Islamic fintech key drivers. Couple of minutes ago before the break I said governments need to take an action towards fintech. الحكومات لازم تتصرف بسرعة. One very successful example is the Dubai International Financial Center who assigned $100 million for fintech startups. Leading country. This followed by a lot of sandboxes across Bahrain, Turkey, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure about Qatar. It doesn't mention anything about Qatar in the report, but it's coming. جميع الحكومات في الخليج والدول المسلمة بدأت تهتم حالياً، والإمارات هي دولة رائدة في الموضوع ده في الخليج. $100 مليون اتخصصوا للفينتك، في ماليزيا طبعاً، في البحرين بس أقل. بنسميها ساند بوكسز. 24 ده متوسط أعمار المسلمين اللي بيشتغلوا في الفينتك مقارنة ب 32 سنة متوسط أعمار الناس اللي بتشتغل world wide. Average age of fintech startups, human elements within Islamic nations, 24 years old, compared to 32 years old worldwide. This means Islamic nations will lead in the forthcoming wave in terms of fintech based on this report. You never know. When it comes to Chinese market anticipation, and that was before coronaviruses. With coronaviruses, you never know. And that's the kind of natural crisis, earthquake, tornadoes, these kind of natural waves which we cannot stop. Whatever the reason behind coronavirus was a human element or not, I don't care. I care about it's something you cannot control that easy. That's what I mean. Right? But there might be some experimental exercises behind it and they lost control. But what I'm talking about when it comes to natural crisis, لما الموضوع يتعلق بالكوارث الطبيعية، ده ربنا سبحانه وتعالى المتحكم فيها. وبالتالي مهما كانت استعداداتك كشركة أو ككونتري out of your control. لازم تلجأ إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى في الوقت ده. So the only solution when it comes to natural crisis is, as Muslim, we believe in the ability of our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's in His hand. We can't control it.
بس طبعا من ناحية التجارية دكتور معلش يعني كتعليق، احنا بنتكلم في التجارة ما
of course.
من مصدرها شو سببها ما مشكلة. كحادثة يعني قضاء وقدر آمنا بالله، لكن استغلالها تجاريا وإفشال كثير من الحركات التجارية
طبعا
قائم على التكنولوجيا.
طبعا
الأمس لو كان أمس المرض هذا إجا في العالم خلاص صار في الصين انتهى ولا واحد في عمان عرف هذا الموضوع، وبالتالي في استقرار. بس اليوم قبل لا الصيني الجار يعرف عن انه جاره مبتلى انا في عمان بعرفه. فبالتالي بسرعه
ده الجانب السيء للتكنولوجيا، بس في جوانب كتير مفيدة.
أنا أحب أنه أقول أنه
وبالتالي when it comes to technology there are pros and cons. دلوقتي أنت تقدر تتصل بأولادك وأفراد العائلة بتاعتك وتشوفهم over video chat وتطمن عليهم. That's a huge element of social life.
يعني هذا أحد أنواع التحايل اللي كنا عم نحكي عليها من شوي.
بالضبط. But when it comes to the Chinese market, for example, anticipations, consumer banking and investment wealth management are the top with fund transfers. And this is in line.
البعض يقول ان كورونا ان السمعه الهاله اللي عن الاخبار منه انه ياتي في اطار حرب بين
ممكن why not ممكن you never know I don't know I can't comment actually. Right, moving forward. So we're talking now about that evolution of disintermediation. So there is intermediation now in fintech. Let me skip this one. Talking about the fintech disruption, intermediation in financial services. Those are the fintech startups and companies. Disrupting who? Banks, financial institutions, big incumbents, disrupting capital market, stocks and bonds, but targeting straight away who? Why young people will go through an intermediation complex process? Straight away, tick. And that's the challenge. So now banks and other big institutions need to partner with those fintechs, work collaboratively with them, marrying them, acquiring them, whatever. المسج ببساطة الناس الصغيرين في السن اللي اتولدوا بعد سنة 2000 أو في mid 19th إيه اللي هيخليه يتعامل مع بنك الإجراءات بتاعته معقدة أو سوق exchange في حين إن هو ممكن ياخد التكنولوجي straight away over the phone or computer machine. It doesn't make any sense to me. They will go straight forward. And that's the message since we started, actually.
Excuse me. Can you go back to that?
Of course, I can, yeah.
So this disintermediation, what would be the monetary policy implication?
Very good question. Very good question. Currently, most of governments, they try to put some kind of regulation around the fintech, around the use of technology. It's not finalized yet in some countries. However, should be some regulations, but some people call for decentralization. So give them the idea, give them the right to have that kind of self-evaluation. And if they break the rules, you'll come back to me. But you're right, 100%. And the only problem with excessive use of artificial intelligence nowadays is not regulatorily 100% controlled yet.
Even the Fintech is
Not yet, not 100%. There are some regulation, but if you are 5-10 peoples,
from the
building a startup,
is
not
not yet.
yet 100%, but there are some regulations coming, definitely. Definitely, there are some regulations. But not like a banking institution. If you compare it to a big banking institution, yeah, highly regulated, definitely.
So the thing is that for us, most of the fintech, they are not banks, we know that for sure. They are non-banks.
Yeah.
So what kind of regulations would you propose? Whether should they be regulated as financial intermediaries? For instance, in Ghana, we face a difficulty in regulating mobile money because the mobile network operators, they are licensed under the Telecommunications Network Act, and then they started providing mobile money services, and then it becomes a banking regulatory problem because the central bank doesn't know whether to regulate them as banks, and that could affect the.
Absolutely. That's a very good example. And that's why it will vary from country to country based on their own regulation and whether they want to support the idea and to grow the industry of fintech or not. But at one point, when you grow up and your capital size is much more, you must be regulated. But if you're talking about 10 million, 12 million, that's not a huge amount of money. But compared to banks, you're talking about billions of pounds and billions of dollars. You know the idea? So the idea simply is the more they grow up, 110 billion bound during the last couple of years, fintech globally have raised. So there should be some regulations, but it will vary from country to country. And you should consider as well differences between developed, emerging, and developing countries. Completely different story again. Yes, please.
GDPR in EU, GDPR,
Yeah.
General Data Protection Regulation.
Yeah.
In the EU countries.
Absolutely, there are, yeah.
Also, apart from those effects, I think the regulatory structure or the way you put the policy the structure of the fintech. Because if the fintech is based on the cryptocurrency, then the decentralization.
This is only one side. Yeah, you're right. This is only one side. Cryptocurrency is only one product. And the idea behind that cryptocurrency, I will speak about it in details later on, but the idea behind it is you have this encrypted, very strong encrypted code. You can't break it, but there are some skilled people who can break it. Only if they are 5-6 people worldwide, but they still risk. Anyway. So giving you the old-fashioned examples only, and new. For example, single provider for most services, which is a bank, right? Moving to unbundled services, multiple providers, marketplace, products, service level, over internet. Another example, fiat currencies, that paper I used a couple of minutes ago, the 100 riyal, which means nothing if you lost it. But now, if it's a digital cryptocurrencies, you will never lose it because it's over the cloud, over internet, and so on and so on. We have that kind of potential distribution and speed of disruption worldwide as well. If you look here, these are the percentage of the kind of services worldwide. So on the top, wealth management, digital payments, 13%, S&P loans, mortgages come really low because the kind of complication around mortgages much more, deposits growing up as well. But this will give you an idea about the size of investment, the size of the industry of fintech worldwide. And if I click more, you will find the focus is on Europe, Far Asia, some in America. There are another players within Gulf. They might come later on, but if you can see here, only around Israel, Turkey, but that was back in 2016, 17. None appeared yet in Gulf countries. Not yet. Not yet. When we talk about the geography of that disruption level, you're talking about here in that angle is the digital leaders, and this angle is the risk of losing existing revenue. Most of people would focus on this quartile up there. And you will find definitely United Kingdom, Germany, European, Malaysia come there, Israel as well. But US is here, India and Indonesia start, none there. Where is the existence of Muslim countries? We need to work hard, particularly in Islamic industry. Sorry?
Israel is not a country, not to be counted as a country. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to discuss this. I don't care, but it's... based on the reports worldwide, they mentioned the name, but we have to admit that in terms of technology and in terms of knowledge, they may be better than some Arab countries. And in terms as Muslim, I should be in a position to say, why not to work much harder to beat the level of technology there? Whether they are supported from a different country, I'm not going to discuss this. That's out of our interest anyway. Fintech benefits and risks. You will find a lot of benefits. So, user anonymity and privacy, but again, this versus crime. Transparency of the transactions, lack of governance, interaction, that's your point back in Ghana. So, if the governments here are not going to take actions, so lack of governance is really important, but this is again against the transparency, cheaper and faster transactions for the volatility, and so on and so on. Cybercrime, low commerce protection, a lot of benefits definitely, but there are some risks. And based on the recent Basel Accord Committee report, 2019, they identified 4 major risks around fintech. Those risks are in order: strategic risk, operational risk, cyber risk, and governance risk, which emphasize the importance of your point. Basel Committee نشروا a report late last year in 2019 وأوجدوا 4 أنواع من الريسك when it comes to technology وفinTech. الريسك الاستراتيجي، ريسك العمليات التشغيلية اليومية، ريسك السايبر ريسك، الريسك الأمني، and الgovernance، الحوكمة. And those 4 risks are really important. We need to pay attention to these definitely. Additional risks, from my point of view, will be business focused on tech, not fin. Because you can provide that level of technology, high level, but you forget about the main purpose behind this technology is to provide much relaxed financial services. So, for example, this guy from Qatar TV, when we had this interview, he said, we've got this app from the bank, but it keep encrypted, it keep froze the whole telephone, and I can't make transaction over it. Is it a tech or tech to serve the financial purpose? Or you are using kind of technology to distract people from the financial purposes to convince them to buy a product or something. That's a risk. And lack of banking experience. That's why we call for high education, highly trained individuals to know what they need to know about the interaction between technology and education of finance, financial transactions. Cybercrime, data security and data protection. And to what level open banking will break the barriers here? You never know, but it's again good thing to do. Potential user anonymity, anti-money laundering risk. Very serious issue. Very, very, very serious issue. I do remember one of my master's students back in the UK disappeared suddenly. And after 3 months, he came back. Where have you been? You've missed the whole semester, actually. He said, I've been arrested by the police. He's a Chinese living in the UK only for 1 year to study, but they suspected a money laundering activity because he started to receive on his own bank account as a student 10 grand every month. And that's abnormal transaction. So the bank track your information. So if you receive, for example, £3,000 a month, so they know that's your salary coming from one source, suddenly you start to receive 20 or 100. One single or multiple transactions. That's a sign for suspicious transactions, activities, might be anti-money laundering suspicion. So be careful for these things. Volatility created by ease and speed and increasing the regulatory security. In the UK now, there is a reports and calls to how the regulations will play an important role in controlling the growth and the use of excessive technology. That's very important. However, they start to use, for example, in the UK traffic system, neural networks to expect the areas will be jammed, the areas will be unease in the traffic to predict the traffic lights and the traffic problems. That's what we talk about, isn't it? Banks are losing face-to-face communications. Why would they go to the branch, waste 1, 2, 3 hours, queuing in a long line, and then waiting for a customer service presenter who may help and may not? I will tell you a very nice story. When I came from the UK a couple of days ago, I brought 20 notes with me. We use in the UK a new note, 5, 10, and all the 20 and 50. But the government has not announced it yet that this 20 is cancelled. We're still using it. Once I arrived to Qatar, a friend came to pick me up, and then he took me to a number of currency exchange and banks. Whenever I show the 20, we can't accept it. We've been told not to accept it. What? I'm a British citizen, live in the UK, we're still using it. And even if the government announces that this has been cancelled, they will give a grace period where you have the transition period. And they said, no. So that kind of give me that impression. Why did I go? Why the hell I go? I should have just protected myself and used my card. So I grabbed my HSBC card and went to cash machine. They will take a commission, but I have the money. So why did I have the cash first time? I didn't think about it. And that's exactly the reason, and you can consider myself not a millennium, but near to the millennials, but this is how those people are thinking. Why I have to suffer this pressure and go to a number of people, and without that friend, I could have been in trouble, by the way. So, first time ever in Doha, I know nothing about it, and I came with 20 notes. Excuse me, that's a nightmare. But see here the percentage. 38% worldwide do not visit banking branches anymore. That's a number. Only 6% visit it 4 or more visit a month, once a week. Oh my days. Why should I go there? And that gives you an impression about the importance of technology and why people are no longer interested to go to the branches anymore. الناس ما عادش عندها اهتمام أو قدرة إن هو يروح للبنك فيزيكلي ويقف قدام الموظف ويتكلم معاه وساعات ممكن تتخانق معاه، ساعات ممكن تشدوا مع بعض. Whatever is going to happen here.
ممكن نتوقع إنه في بنوك مش موجودة physically only on
موجود. There are something we call worldwide virtual banking. And there is one called Advansia. I've met a young lady a couple of years ago in one of the conferences in Edinburgh, and she works in a bank called Advansia Bank in Luxembourg. This is a completely 100% virtual bank. They never meet their clients. They never have this face-to-face interaction. What they do is to introduce their clients by a computer machine, by system. They build all the transactions. العلاقة ما بين العميل والبنك هنا علاقة مش موجودة face to face، مش موجودة مقابلة وجها لوجه. علاقة كلها إلكترونية. Advansia. Advansia Bank in Luxembourg. But there are a lot of examples. That's the only example came to my head now only. When it comes to Islamic fintech, based on the Islamic financial report in 2019, 93 Islamic fintech companies are identified in Islamic nations. How many of them are providing peer-to-peer finance without banking intermediation? 2/3. 65 fintech, Islamic fintech startup providing B2B. 14 blockchain, and amongst other fintech activities, only 14. Moreover, breakdown by the function, business and consumer financing, 65, but not necessarily to be the same 65, by the way. There is an overlap. Wealth management, that gives you an idea about how important and which area you need to focus upon and which area you need to develop much more. But see here, only Arab country appears in Islamic fintech startups, UAE. This means other Gulf countries need to work hard to develop the fintech activities. Governments need to create that sandboxes, which is a government fund to support all fintech startups. الحكومات لازم توفر الدعم المالي اللازم للشركات المبتدئة في التكنولوجيا المالية علشان يقفوا على رجليهم ياخدوا position في الماركت or whatever.
Can you tell us more about sandboxes? Unless you're going to talk about it later.
I will. Because there are some sandboxes in Malaysia, in Turkey, but smaller funds. The largest was in Dubai.
How does it work?
The expression is the government give this fund to fintechs as kind of support. So you need to make an application and apply for it, why you are going to use it, how you are going to use it, what the benefits for the government, for the market, for the community, for the economy, and so on, so on, so on. But different countries have different systems. But the idea, the general idea I would like to pass to you here is simply, they assign this fund to support your business. So if you are a fintech startup and you have an idea, you will support some kind of activities, you will have the fund, but you need to make an application.
So that's a funding mechanism.
Absolutely. To support the growth of this particular business. بدل ما تاخد قرض, instead of going to a bank to apply for a loan, and you pay the principal plus interest plus or management fees if Islamic banking, you will have this funded from the government interest free. It's look like card حسن. You know what I mean? القرض الحسن. فأنت بتاخد الفند من الحكومة علشان تساعدك to grow up البيزنس بتاعك, وفي النهاية هو يبقى شريكك, يا إما تسدده يا إما ما تسددوش. ده different story. Sandboxes is a general expression for it, yeah. They create sandbox.
We have like funds رفض صندوق الرفض.
ممكن تكون حاجة equivalent لها, ممكن.
But the ownership is for this sandbox.
Hey, sorry.
The ownership of
the government. The government own it, yeah. The government.
So this is not a private or a group of people, as you mentioned before, as a startup.
It's a government. دي movement من بعض الحكومات علشان تدعم وتقوي الوجود بتاع الفينتكس ستارت ابس, الناس المبتدئين, عشان تخليهم يبقوا more established in the market.
Sorry, اللي فهمه كان غير هيك يمكن انا غلطان, انه هو لان there is regulatory bodies restrict what you can and cannot do. In Qatar, for example, up to my knowledge, most of fintechs are doing cannot be done legally. There is no licenses to do
Yet.
yet.
Yeah.
So my understanding was, and again maybe I'm wrong, is that the sandbox is a framework to help you experiment with fintech concepts without having to go through the full regulatory approval. So you want to try peer-to-peer lending, play in the sandbox, do some experiments, link some test bank accounts, while you are not yet allowed to put this in production and actually provide the service to the public.
I can't disagree. Might be the case in Qatar, yeah. You're right. Might be the case, I don't know. But that makes sense to me. Whatever you said now makes very, very strong sense to me, because they can't just allow it to go for the market and provide services without being tested phased. Yeah, absolutely fine. But might be the case here, in other countries might not. Yeah, you're right. When you look to the peer-to-peer lending, here's a simple function actually. Borrowers applies for loans through a lending platform, then commits to pay from a lender or investor. Simple. That's it. Right? That's the old-fashioned way. With fintech, you are not involved in this, and instead fintech play that important role. If you follow up, borrowers, number one, apply for a loan. Number two, you have the commitment from the borrowers, from the lender and investors to give you the money. Number three will be a completely different story. Through that lending platform, they will ask information from third parties about your eligibility to take the money from a bank. And then number four, the bank will issue the actual loan to the borrower and follow up. See how complex it is now with fintech. However, you are not, as a client, involved in this. Right? Now this explains to you how the partner banks can complicate things compared to the simple peer-to-peer. Right?
How does the simple peer-to-peer guarantee that you will pay back?
They need to check with third parties.
So they
But when you
check
when you create that platform, this means this platform is controlled by those investors, and you are not part of this platform as a client. But once you enter your information, they have their own check, because they can't just give you. It's not a payday loan, for example, like the very well-known payday. If you heard about this expression, in America, for example, in Canada, they have white collars. They call it Friday night loan, up to $1,200, up to $1,500 for example, and interest is really high, can reach 50%. But this system, you can have the loan without any checks at all. And can you imagine the number of payday loans outlets is more than Starbucks and McDonald's combined in America only. I'm talking about 52 states. Number of payday outlets, loan outlets in the US is more than Starbucks branches, Starbucks and McDonald's combined. This means a lot of professionals take this $1,000 to $1,200 in Friday night just to enjoy their life and then pay later on with very high interest. And once you started this cycle of debt, you will never be out. That's the risk. So again, there are kind of, and that's exactly what you were talking about for the sandbox. We need to regulate some of these excessive use of technology. Otherwise, people will be in debt and they will never be out.
But what are you saying means that the previous slide is not as simple as you are showing it.
Yeah, it's not. It's not, yeah. That's the traditional way of doing it. The peer-to-peer. Yeah? But here, you can't just enter to the platform. They need to make some checks over this platform. But that's different from the payday loan. Payday loan, they have something that, yeah.
Payday loan, we're talking about peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
Here it's very clean, simple. However, there are...
Let me explain it in a different way. There is no banking intermediation here. So there is no bank. The only reason they may use some regulatory checks is to check your information. So if you tell them, I'm Hussein, who told us you are Hussein? So they need to make some checks that you are the right person, the same date of birth, and the same address. With regulatory bodies or some of the banks.
So they have to go talk to the banks eventually.
Not really. But they can have their own checks. Different platforms have different ideas of getting information. Some of them have access to the government records, for example, or they agree to have it. Some regulatory institution like FSA in the UK, for example, give access to them, some not. It varies from country to country.
Credit history, for example?
Credit bureaus, for example, maybe. But the idea behind this peer-to-peer is banking complicating things and take longer time. And they want here to facilitate and foster the decision-making process. That's the whole idea. Simple.
But in this case, the lender is still taking a risk.
Absolutely.
Right? Default.
And much higher risk compared to the other one, with fintech. Absolutely. But those people believe the higher the risk, the old-fashioned finance rule, if you remember, the higher they expected the risk, the higher they expected the return.
But this means the interest rate here is much higher than going. Because
Not
they're taking a higher
necessarily.
risk.
Might be, but not necessarily. Some people make it very easy, and they build the idea is instead of attracting only 10 clients, I can attract million clients. So they build on volume rather than the single individual benefits by high interest rate. So they can put a much lower interest rate to attract the public. Different mechanisms. Yeah.
So the fact that here the lending platform is represented on the
Yeah. Sorry.
is it an application or what? Just to get the platform is represented by what?
It's over internet. It's an application, it's a program, and different platforms have different design of their platforms and the idea here, it's a virtual process. You don't go physically. It's over internet.
So it's an application.
It's an application, it's a program, but they protect it by this encrypted code, which is very strong in terms of blockchain, for example. But guys, the idea here is you need to consider when it comes to technology, there is high risk in terms of breaking the technology, breaking the system. But those people are really specialists, highly qualified, and they have to take the risk, end of the day. But the initial cost of building a strong system might be a good case. So they pay a lot of money at the beginning to establish a strong system, then they keep it maintained, الصيانة, تكلفة الصيانة بتاعتها, over a period of time, then they will start to gain the benefit. But there is risk. Everything around us, there is risk, and you can't avoid it. And security risk, you can't avoid it.
I think this factor, this factor is make the resistance of some people to try to.
I'm coming to this point because there is still a large number of population, people my age and older, they don't prefer and they feel unsecured. I will review a complete survey by BWC, reviewing the views from 1,670 customers. And first reason, come first ever, is security. Most of people will not go through this kind of virtual electronic world because they are afraid. Protection is not there. But again, when you talk about millennials, when you talk about Generation Z, they born with risk-taking approach. They have this risk-taking approach in their genes, in their blood. Of course. It depends on where you're born, what culture you grow up, and different culture. Yeah, go on.
We discussed disintermediation. So you can see that in all the fintech arrangements, there's always a partner bank involved. So if the funds eventually...
Not always.
Yes.
Not always,
Sorry,
yeah.
even most.
In sometimes,
Yes.
yeah. Some of them, yeah.
Yes, in some of them. So eventually the funds will end up in the bank. So wouldn't it be proper to use extended intermediation instead of this?
However, I do apologize for interrupting you. Banks here has no control. Whatever, or the only thing has control here is the fintech company. They're using the bank as their own supportive body, but they have no control over it. They can't control it.
So for instance, in this particular case, partner bank will receive the funds. Eventually, when the transactions are occurring, the transactions still will go to the bank eventually. Can the bank utilize those funds just like any other deposits?
They can, they cannot. It depends on the type of fund.
So in that case, it is still some form of intermediation from the bank, and that is not.
Let's say it's kind of modified intermediation.
So
Less regulated intermediation.
So you would agree with me to be extended intermediation instead of disintermediation?
Absolutely, I would agree. I would agree. In some cases where they use the third party as bank, it is an extended, of course. But the level of control that the bank has over this transaction is much lower compared to the more traditional way. That's it. Moving forward, I might need to just speed up a little bit. I still got a lot. But anyway, I'll try to do my best to focus on the most important things for you, not to miss any of the information. And I will ask the organizer to send a copy from the presentation for you. And anytime you need a question, feel free to shoot me with an email straight away. Give me a call over a phone if you have an international call or something, or drop me an email, that's it. And I will answer you to the best that I can. Blockchains is a technology maintained in a database between many participants without the need for third party or reconciliations. It is a determined digital ledger, right? Based on this strong encryption code. So it's look like a virtual space they created, very highly secured, to have this kind of electronic currency. And currently, how many emails you received in your junk email, for example, oh, we are a Bitcoin company, would you like to invest with us? Achieve $1,000 within the next 3 days, 4 days or so. A lot. Myself, I'm a specialist in the area to some extent, delete, because I still cannot 100% trust this without a notice from my government in the UK says you can't trust this provider. Because end of the day, if you lose your money, electronic money, I will protect you. That's my view. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, it seems complicated, but it's much easier. So if you want to move money from entity A or to send that money from entity A to entity B, what's the process? Entity A and entity B will never meet. It's all over the computer. So entity A is sitting on his own computer, making the transaction online as a block. And this block is broadcasted to every single computer around this blockchain. And by the way, this number of computers can reach millions of computers, can be millions of computers. And most of the banks have this closed system, which means they control the largest number, the maximum number of computers within the ledge or the block. Those in the network approve the transaction is valid because they have these. If we have an agreement from all the computer systems all over the blockchain or this block, it's approved. But if we have disagreement, they will not approve it. So you are looking for this consistent decision making amongst them all. The blocks is then added to the chain. And why we call it a chain? Because from one transaction lead to another one and so on. So the fund moves from A to B. So the idea here, it's an electronic system controlled by this large number of computers across different countries, across different parties. And then if they all agree, they will move it. But where is the actual money? That's a question. Do you have to have a bank account, for example, with real notes to have an access to the blockchain? Or it's only electronic based on your credit score or history? Unfortunately, I can't answer this question yet. And that's the dilemma around blockchain. And that's why most of people have this question mark around it. Can we trust it? دي المشكلة اللي من وجهة نظري الشخصية في البلوك تشينز. انت عشان تبدأ البلوك تشين دي انت محتاج بانك اكاونت، محتاج فيزيكال نوتس، رصيد، وتحول الرصيد ده من الفيزيكال فيات نوت اللي هي الورقية لإلكترونيك. end of the day طيب so what؟ هم بيارجيو against this ان بدل ما يبقى معاك العملة الورقية هيبقى معاك عملة إلكترونية وبالتالي ما عندكش الخطر انك تفقدها. زي ما قلت لك ال 100 ريال دي لو وقعت من جيبي خلاص done. بس لو هي في البلوك تشين never lose it unless I spend it in something. فهم بيargue against it. But there is still some dark areas around this area but need some high level of governance support. الحكومات لازم تعمل رقابة على الموضوع ده وتدي التصريح هل أنت آمن إنك تستخدم الكلام ده أو لا.
كيف تعمل رقابة على أمر متعلم يعني أصبح يدار عن طريق الإنترنت؟
لأن الحكومات لها طرق لرقابة الإنترنت. I will give you example. I have accounts in something called Netflix and Amazon Prime, where you can watch TV episodes, programs, movies, and so on and so on. I have the same internet access here, the same account. When I try to access it in Qatar, it doesn't work. So governments can control internet access. الحكومات ممكن تحط رقابات على كيفية استخدام الإنترنت. فأنا عندي اشتراك في موقع معين زي شاهد باللغة العربية مثلا، عندكم مواقع للمسلسلات والأفلام. في اليو كي لو أنت مشترك في حاجة اسمها نتفليكس، لو أنت عايز تدخل عليها هنا من قطر أو من الإمارات أو ما تقدرش. denied برغم ان انت اليوزر وعندك اليوزر نيم والباسورد. بس ده بيتطلب مجهود كبير من الحكومات واستثمارات كبيره جدا عشان يعمل كنترول اوفر ذا انترنت نتورك.
هذا بدل الاستثمار في التنميه تستثمر في التقنيات. both.
الاثنين مع بعض. ما نقدرش نقول ان الجانب التكنولوجي نهمله ونستثمر في الانفراستراكشر في التعليم والصحه بس، لان طريقة التعليم وطريقة الصحة مهمة. انت عارف دلوقتي ان هم عملوا روبو يعمل عملية جراحية؟ سبحان الله. يعني التقدم العلمي والتطور. there is a robo can make an operation for human being.
هو العمليات الجراحية في الأصل هي أكثر شيء استخدام التقنيات، لأنه كان في شيء اسمه العمليات بالمنظار.
من وجهة نظرك ممكن تكون دي أكثر شيء، من وجهة نظر واحد تاني I don't care about it. I care about my level of comfort. Anything will come in my comfort zone. I would appreciate it and work in it. From your point of view, might differ from me. That's it.
شوف شيء. في عمليات تسمى عمليات بالمنظار قديمة. بدل الجراحة العادية الكمبيوتر يستخدم وتكون الفتحات أقل باستخدام التقنية. هذا قديم من 50 سنة وأكثر.
Okay, that's the report I'm talking about. For CGI surveyed 1,670 and they came with 12 fintech concepts. Protection, personal financial management, BFM, mobile payment, personalized digital, Internet of Things, IoT, personalized offer, partnering, and so on and so on. Based on this survey, these are the most important 12 fintech concepts. And there is a full definition here, you can read it later on. But I would like to skip quickly to the main conclusions of this report because there are some other parts later on. See here, 78% out of this survey say protection, security. You work hard, you work your socks over the month, you've got your salary, and they ask you to put some money in technology. If I lose it, I'm done, particularly if you have a family and kids and. So main reason, protection is by far the most valid across demographics and geographical areas. So this means if you want to increase the level of use of technology and fintechs, particularly within Arab Muslim countries, particularly within Gulf, you need to think about how you will convince your clients about this lost misconcept about technology. Right? Protection. You need to convince them that technology is protected, and as a government, we have an umbrella to protect you. If you lose your money, we'll protect you, and so on and so on. Second come that BFM, mobile payment. If you can see here, peer-to-peer lending. That was 2 years ago. Now, this could jump here. Right? Credit scoring and alternative scoring. I'm a specialist in scoring models, by the way. That's my niche area. Building scoring models. Like I said before, neural networks, genetic programming, algorithms, gene expressions, support vector machines, all this stuff.
Scoring what?
Scoring clients for financial institutions to test their eligibility and credit worthiness. So if you borrow money, I can predict based on your history whether you will be able to pay the money in the future or not. Of course, there are a lot of issues around it, and whatever built is in history, not necessarily going to work for the future, but it's a rough idea. But alternative scoring model using social media, social networks as a source of information. So no longer only your income, spouse income, where you live, how old are you, whether you have dependent or not, whether you own your house or not, whether you own the car or not. All this more traditional information about individual. Your activities and mood, behavioral factors over social network. So for example, if you post something very sad, a statement, for example, oh, I feel so disappointed, I can't survive living like this. This means you are in a bad mood and you might facing some financial problems. If you're posting a post that I was, for example, in one of the islands in Malta, for example, enjoying my life, I'm happy, this means you have some fund. It can be interpreted in different ways. So that's why, that's in my area is future. Using social networks, social media information next to, not as alternative to, next to the traditional list of information about our clients. And this will improve the whole process a lot. So other conclusions from this report, interested consumers are aware of these services, but do not intend to buy them. Us, for example, I'm talking about myself at least. I know about these cryptocurrencies, blockchain, bitcoins, but I'm not interested. Why? I can't 100% trust it yet. But with a government statement, straight away.
Maybe it depends about the customer.
Absolutely, maybe. Biggest obstacle to consideration and purchase are lack of trust. So when it comes to protection, means you do not trust those bodies. Absolutely. Perceived complexity, risk aversions, and so on and so on. Overwhelmingly, these consumers prefer to get new services from their current primary provider or other traditional providers. And that's why, until now, incumbent banks, more traditional banking institutions, somehow they feel comfortable because we have this largest population from 40, 35 plus, 40, 45 plus, they won't go for technology. Again, 10 years from now, we're gone. And who's leading? Millennials, Generation Z, younger people who will be around their 30s and 40s with different view, different way of thinking, different attitudes. And that's why if we do not, as banking industry, as Islamic banking industry, if we do not react now, within 5 to 10 years, we're out of the competition. And fintechs will provide, like I said, for example, Sainsbury's, Tesco, those grocery stores where they provide financial services and millennials prefer to go to them. مكان بيبيع أكل وشرب، خضار وفاكهة، بيقدم قروض، عربيات، قروض شخصية، credit cards interest free for 2 years. لما تروح للبنك ما بيديكش. ما توجعش دماغي بقى، اوكي يعني go to hell زي ما بيقولوا. Partnership offers a chance. In my view, that's a key. Win, win, win. If banks partner with fintechs and fintechs contacted clients, banks will increase their share, their piece of the cake. The whole market is a cake, yeah? That's how we describe it, at least for our students. And every single competitor, every single partner in the market will need to have the biggest piece of this cake. You can't increase the cake, you can't decrease the size until you enlarge your activities outside of the country, for example, or the area. But theoretically, you have a specific market with a specific target, with a specific number of clients, at least for a year or two. So you are looking to target the largest number and have and acquire access to this largest number. But partnership is the key. How, when, that's a bigger question. So the disruption targets mostly consumer in banking. Based on this survey as well, Consumer banking, funded transfer and payment are the top. Individuals and payment activities, this is the disruption. So where fintechs can attract more attention when they contact individuals, that's the consumers. About what? About their transfers and payments, faster. And along the list, you will have commercial banking, insurance, that's a future. Investment banking, reinsurance come last of this list. Abdou, if you don't mind, would you like to send? This is the part where the whole presentation concludes. Based on this report, they identified these areas as 2020 and beyond challenges for fintech and banking and our consumers. And I will discuss every single one of them in one slide, one single slide. I'll try to run quickly. Fintech will drive the new business model. Do we have any doubts now about this? Personally, I don't. Never. And some statistics here just to show you. Most disrupted financial services or financial institutions as a sector, banking and payments, up to 28% of businesses at risk by 2020 if they are not coping with the new technology. Insurance, asset management, wealth management, up to 22 of these businesses at risk. 2020, which is this year, 2021, max. 81% of banking CEOs are concerned about the speed of technology changes. And I was reading another report a couple of days ago says that 25% of senior CEOs in companies worldwide expect that they will reimagine their businesses with artificial intelligence in place. That compared this 25% with only 14% back in 2017. That's a massive jump in 2 years, by the way, massive jump. And when a CEO, highly intelligent, I would assume person who's a decision maker, thinking strategically about something, say that I will reimagine my business with artificial intelligence within the next 12 months, that's a serious message. Serious message. 60 to 70% of all the jobs based on accounts, المحاسبين, accounting and finance jobs, 60 to 70% of those jobs will disappear by 2024. أنا فاكر إنتوا تعرفوا رامون شافيز, the Goldman Sachs director. He mentioned in one of his TV interviews, back in 2000, they employed 600 employers in their credit and equity department. Now they have only 2. And all the 600 has been replaced by 200 high-quality computer machines to process the whole thingy. So even our jobs might be at risk. Goldman Sachs replaced 600 employed back in 2000. After 20 years, down this number to only 2 employers. 2 employers, oh my God. However, what makes me feel more comfortable and relaxed is, in my view, you may disagree with me, computers are stupid. Believe it or not. You know what? Who developed the computer? Who developed the program? Who developed this very secured, encrypted ledger, whatever rubbish they say about? Human element. So end of the day, we have the control over our own future if we want. But only the best of the best will survive. And I'm talking about top 10%. If you are even up to 80% of quality, you might lose your job, which is scary. Anyway, but final conclusion, there are a lot of smart parties trying to disrupt and improve the industries. If you work as an incumbent, which means an old-fashioned banking institution, scanning the market for new competitors, studying how they think, like you need to study how millennials are thinking, infrastructure and regulations from the government side, considering what defense or collaboration approach, you might be safe. Second item, sharing economy, embedment, and financial system. And what I'm talking about here by sharing economy refers to the decentralized asset ownership. And that was part of yesterday's conference sessions. We're talking about the shared ownership and the benefits behind sharing ownership. You might agree or disagree with this, but that's a concept now. And using technology and information technology to find efficient matches between providers and users. You know about the facility. All days when you go to a bank applying for a loan, if you move to a new country, for example, and you want to apply for a loan to have a car, we call it car finance, isn't it? Now I can, over the computer, apply for a loan based on my credit score, 60 seconds. Granted, rejected. And what I don't like about Western culture in terms of scoring, the more you borrow, the higher the score you will get. Oh. So if you are independent, you never borrowed, but you don't have any credit cards, you never borrowed, your credit score is weak. Oh my days, that doesn't make any sense at all. But what they're looking for is borrow and pay. Borrow and pay, borrow and pay. Build a credit history. How many credit cards you would imagine I have? All interest-free, by the way. How many? Not even close. To build a credit score in the UK, I have 16 credit cards. But I have this Excel sheet, deadlines, end of the interest period, and it's a nightmare. But this is how I built my credit score, and now it's excellent. That's crazy. I know, that's crazy. I disagree with it. That's my area of expertise. But this is how the system works. So I have to cope with the system. You need to think in a different way. Right, 44% of those who earn less than 75,000. I'm talking about developed nations. When you go to developing countries and emerging markets, this number is down to 10,000. That's scary. Anyway, would trust a technology company for peer-to-peer payments, and this rises to 68% among earning or making more than 100,000. So the more you earn, the more you trust the level of technology, the more you are able to sacrifice and take risk. In developing markets, where branch network is typically less dense, particularly in rural areas, physical distribution will continue to evolve, and banks are more likely to partner with new entrants to create alternative distribution, which means fintechs. Those people can help to build that. That's a good example in Kenya, for example. They have this M-Pesa in Kenya, handle deposits and payments using customers' cell phones and a network of agents. This service are now used by more than 90% of the adults population in the country. And Kenya is a developing country. What about developed nations? Blockchain will shake things up, definitely. When it comes to blockchains, electronic currency. There is no notes, no fiat currency anymore. Cryptocurrencies. Anyway, just to skip it quickly, decision makers must have a clear vision of where to apply the technology and why. And if I am managing an institution now, I would ask you strongly to answer this question. I can't answer them. It depends on your area of expertise. Where and why? And I will add to this, when. Because you might be late, your competitor might just take the advance. It will be easier to create a workable implementation plan for building a blockchain into their infrastructure. You may start now, but the plan is to finish it within 5 years. But at least you start it. Make that start from now. Because whether you like it or not, it's coming. Digital becomes mainstream. When we talk about digital, we talk about artificial intelligence. Everything now is digitalized, isn't it? كل التفاصيل حياتنا دلوقتي بقى فيها technology. صح؟ تقنية, digital, أرقام, computers, everything. Where I live, everything is digitalized. Everything. Give me any example. Top of your head, I will confirm it. Scary? Yes. But as businesses, we need to react. As banking institution providing services, we need to react. Because if we are behind, other competitors will take the lead. That's the final conclusion from this script. Of course. Thank you very much. I'll try to skip quickly within 5 minutes, absolutely, but you can leave if you want. Absolutely. Customer intelligence. 63% of insurance CEOs believe that the Internet of Things will be strategically important. And I'm sure you're aware of Internet of Things expression, IoT. Most sophisticated data analytics as a gateway for emerging trends. Worldwide, 61% believe that over the next 5 years, more than 60 of their clients will be using. We already started. And I started my presentation with, who's the best friend? This is stupid thingy is my best friend. Woke up in the morning, have a look. Before I sleep, spending 1 hour or 2 hours over my bed. It's a addiction now. I'm addicted to this thingy. I can't get rid of it. But my life is there. My bank account, emails, work, everything is there. Advances in robots and artificial intelligence. John McCarthy, back in 1956, coined this expression, artificial intelligence. He was born in Boston, 1927, and died back in Stanford, 2011. He invented that thingy called artificial intelligence. Artificial means computers. Intelligence try to mimic, copy the human intelligence. That's the final conclusion. We try to create system or robots or programs in the ability of humans. And I can tell we will fail because no one can create what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, definitely. But we try to reach. What robots can do, thinking machines, a lot. And that's why they start to create those robots to have an operation. These robots to have these scenarios and interaction in a banking. When they provide, for example, mortgages, they have their information, they enter it to a system. If you have a good credit score, granted. But now, if you think about autopilot in an aircraft, if you think about driverless, the new cars invented already, and they have the application in Sweden, there's no driver. You're sitting, reading, or reviewing, and the car have around 48 cameras with sensors reacting to the real life situation. If somebody argues with me in technology, you have to have this historical data, isn't it? You have to have these database predetermined activities. But when it comes to real life, like autopilot in aircrafts and the driverless technology, they have to react with unexpected, unknown situation within real life scenarios to make a decision to protect you. That's high level of technology, definitely. And all these artificial intelligence. Public clouds and infrastructure models. Now if you go to cloud, for example, over your iPhone, over your Android, after reaching 5 gigabytes, they will ask you to subscribe. The idea now is to have this public cloud for free. So all your information are migrating there. So when we have to access you, we have to access all the information from this where in nowhere cloud. That's the final conclusion as well. You can read the statistics later on. Cybersecurity, that's the risk. That's the protection side. That's why people are still scared. They work their socks. They can't sacrifice their income. That's why they are scared. Asia Center, we believe that Asian tigers will lead this. However, some unexpected natural crises like coronavirus, for example, where this will be the case, whether this is the case, no one can tell. But we cannot deny the high quality, the intelligence, the technology level in China, for example, in Singapore, in other countries around it, Far Asia. We cannot deny it. But whether something unexpected will come to stop them, like coronavirus, any of the tornadoes, earthquakes in Japan, for example, you never know. That's another issue we talked about, and that's answering your question exactly. And for example, in the USA, the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which focuses on consumer protection, has invested heavily in analytics and digital technology, which will lead later on to creating the level of regulation that we are looking for when we talk about fintech technology and provide the security for the public. And I'm not talking about wealthy people, I'm talking about the normal average class people like most of us. When you earn above or around $50,000 to $100,000 a year. In Europe, the regulators have put quite a bit emphasis on how technology is used. In the UK, Financial Conduct Authority, the new entity, is stepping to make sure that financial institutions do not abuse their new founders, big data power. So there are some movements, but not yet completed. We need some time. When it comes to gaps and opportunities in Islamic fintech, Islamic domain, number A, big data. In terms of deposit, you see that box here. It has opportunities in deposits, in borrowing, in treasury, within big data and artificial intelligence. That's the first opportunity of investment. When you go to number B, trading finance, particularly with blockchain. That's a huge, massive opportunity for investment. When you go to C, with wealth management, again, going back to big data analytics and peer-to-peer finance. When you go to D, insurance and reinsurance, equivalent in Islam, takaful and retakaful, across the whole cycle. But see here, the strength of the investment opportunity is very limited. So the lighter the color, the higher the opportunity for investment. That's a chance. That's a massive chance for our Islamic banking industry, particularly in Gulf, to invest. And last one is E, where you have huge opportunities around B2B, open banking, mobility, which is the middle and front offices in terms of deposit and lending. And that's exactly what I said. Role of analytics in big data and Islamic banking, the critical value of trade finance and blockchain, and so on and so on. These are the equivalent list of services in Islamic world. So when you talk about deposit, for example, Sharia deposits, when you talk about consumer financing, the sukuk, when you talk about insurance, takaful and retakaful, and so on. And these are the 9 financial technologies identified based on this report for the back office, middle office, and front office. And these are the opportunities where you have to invest as an Islamic industry. Key priorities for 2020 beyond, quickly, update your IT system, identify and simplify your legacy system, use SaaS, for example, that's new technology, build the technology capabilities, prepare your architectures. You can pay enough attention to cybersecurity, but you can't control it. End of the day, make sure you have access to the necessary talents. Education, training of the current existing employees and customers. Train people. And to end with policy responses for fintech. Anti-money laundering, artificial intelligence, and the digital systems, and the ABD, clouds, biometrics. If you consider it as 3 layers, for example, these are the policy enablers, isn't it? This part is enabling technology, and this part is the fintech activities. I like this diagram very much because it summarizes the whole thingy. Right? So my message is to you, my takeaway is my final conclusion, quickly. Disruption of the financial industry is happening and fintech is the driver. No question. Like it or not, it's you. It reshapes the way companies and consumers engage. Financial institutions need to be prepared for the forthcoming challenges and new technology, and decision makers need to be fully aware of the required skills for their employers, for their customers. And these some questions. Please do ask yourself, if you're working in a big institution, some of these questions. whether it's higher education institution, whether it's a company, whether it's a bank, ask some of these questions. For example, does your IT team understand how they will deploy artificial intelligence and robotics? These are serious questions, really serious questions. Because if the answer in any of these questions may be, you are at risk. Do you have robust cybersecurity program? Can you customize products offering on an individual basis? How will you find the skilled resources? And a lot more, a lot more. That was it. Thank you very much. I do apologize. I wasn't prepared to have that delayed start, but if we have more time, we could have expanded our discussion much more. But you have access to the presentation. You have access to my email. Anytime you feel that you have a question or you want to visit the UK as well, you are more than welcome to come. Thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure meeting you all. شكر جدا لاهتمامكم وشكرا. شكرا.